Hi there, welcome to another YouTube video for my series that I like to call Monday Make It, Send It. So I hope you had a nice holiday today and enjoyed your Labor Day, and hopefully you had the day off like I did. So anyway, I wanted to bring you the Monday night video, and I have a card made here ahead of time, and then I will make one in front of you, and then Tuesday morning I will have two cards to send to a couple friends. So that's the whole idea behind my Monday Make It, Send It videos. So this is a fun fold card that I recently did at a class, and it's called Arrow, the Arrow fold. So you can kind of see why they call it that, because it comes to a point. And with this, I actually use the thin cardstock. If you go to use the thicker white cardstock, you can't really make your creases very well. So go ahead and just use the thinner white Stampin' Up! Cardstock. So anyway, I will go ahead and show you what I did there as far as the cutting and the scoring and things like that. So I just used your standard size card and scored it in the middle, so it's going to fold like a card normally would. And then for your 5.5 mark here, you need to find the center point. So you go ahead and find the center, mark it, and then you're just going to score it actually. So from this point, I went ahead and used an ink pen so you can see the lines pretty well. So find your center, and then you're going to score it from point to point, and do the same thing over here. So this is the score line, and then you're going to go up from the bottom 2 1/8 here, make a mark, and 2 1/8 inches over here and make a mark, and then you're going to score from here to the center and here to the center. So you're going to end up with the 4 score lines. Okay, so that's kind of the pattern. It's easier than it looks actually once you get the scoring done. And then I have one here. It's going to be hard to see because it's white, but I did pencil marks here, and then I went ahead and scored it. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I did to fold it. So you want to take the big piece here and the big side here and fold in on the creases. Okay, so use your bone folder and make a good crease, okay? And then you're going to do the other side. All right, and then the smaller ones you're going to fold out. So it gets kind of tricky at the point, so that's why you need to make sure you have these creased well with your bone folder. Do that one, and then do this one. There you have your point. So I'm just going to do this, and then at the end here, make sure it's creased pretty well. Okay, so we've got all 4 of our score lines, and you end up with something like that. Now, on the card, you actually go ahead and glue it flat, and make sure you don't have adhesive where it's not supposed to be. So start with the big flaps and glue it down underneath here, and then do the small flaps and glue it just where you need the adhesive to be. So I'll go ahead and do that. So again, glue side 1, and then glue side 2, like so, and then you only want adhesive on this little part right here. Okay, you don't want it on the outside flaps here, so just go ahead and put adhesive where it's gonna go there. And fold that down. Voila! Now you've got your arrow, and you can decorate it any way you see fit. Okay, so I used the Rooted in Nature stamp set and coordinating dies. So I used this tree right here, and then you could either use You Are Wonderful or Thinking of You. I think I'm going to use You Are Wonderful on my 2 cards. But I went ahead and stamped the tree. Yep, so I stamped the tree and cut it out with the Big Shot die. And then ahead of time, I also used the stitched nested labels framelit, or the stitch nested labels die. So I cut out a piece out of crumb cake. And then the paper, this is important too, that you have the designer paper cut the correct way. So you've got some triangles here, and what you do with that is you take, I've just got some old designer paper here, but it needs to be 4 by 5 inches. And so on the 5-inch line, the longest line here, you're going to again find the center, and then you're actually going to cut this, okay? So from this corner down to the center, you would cut that off. From this point up to here, you would cut that off, and you end up with the 3 pieces that will fit on your card. So like I said, it is easier than you would think it would be. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing. Excuse me. I'm going to start gluing my designer paper down. Okay. And kind of center that as best you can so you get an even framing with your white. So with your white all the way to where your brown is. So you want to frame that up nice, and then you're going to go ahead and do the same with your other pieces. And what's nice about this, it's only going to fit one way. You can't mess this up, because if you cut it correctly, it's a piece of cake putting it on the card. And you have to be mindful of your paper. So make sure you cut your 3 cuts of your designer paper the way the design is going to go on your card. Otherwise, you know, you would have it upside down. So just be mindful of that, your direction. And then again, kind of line it up so you have the same amount of white on both sides. And then, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and use the You Are Wonderful, and I'm going to use Early Espresso is one of my colors I'm using for the brown. And put that up here. And you've got your sentiment. And then I'm going to show you what I did with that tree. There's a couple things, a little technique here I want to show you. So I'll go ahead and get my white piece of cardstock. This is a scrap piece of white, big enough for your tree to be stamped on, okay? And then I just use the crumb cake, which is right here, and your tree stamp. So again, I like to mount my stamps one side or the other so I don't get ink all over the block. And then on a piece of scratch paper, you're just going to stamp off to remove some of the ink, and then you're going to take an Early Espresso marker and just color in the bottom, because you want the tree trunk to be a little darker. So you've got a crumb cake ink on there, but some of it's been removed so it's not so dark. You add the marker and add the tree trunk on there, like so. And then the last thing we're going to do is add some pumpkin pie with a sponge dauber. So I'll show you what I did with that. So add some color directly on your stamps. And then in between times you can, so you don't bleed colors, you just do a few times on here with the pumpkin pie. And then on scratch paper, remove some of that so you don't get the brown in your pad. So see, I'm just adding some orange on there. It's kind of hard to see it. That's all I did with that. And then I'm going to stamp it on the white cardstock, Whisper White. Okay, voila. So you've got your two-tone fall tree with the trunk being a darker brown. And for the magic of television, or in this case video, I have already cut that out with the Big Shot. Now I think I want to add some more pumpkin, some more orange color. So just go ahead and take your sponge dauber, and even after you stamp, you can add more color in here to just add a little bit more of your orange tones. Okay, so there's our tree. And then you are just going to glue that on your piece of crumb cake. Glue that flat. And then I used dimensionals underneath. And just be mindful of your dimensionals. You don't want to put dimensionals behind here where they would show through. So just be careful where you put your dimensionals at on here. And just raise it up a little bit. More towards the middle, I guess is what I'm saying. And then you're going to put that on the front of your card. Okay, you are wonderful. This would be a good masculine or feminine card, either one. So just line up these points so they're even. And your tree. And you've decorated. And then all I have to do is just add the little twine bow. So I did a double linen thread, okay? I've got 2 pieces here, and I'm just going to tie a bow together. Hopefully, if I'm not too nervous here. But you get the right idea. Just tie a little twine and use some glue, a glue dot. Glue dots are wonderful. Gotta have some of those in your craft supplies because glue dots work good for ribbons and a whole lot of other stuff. So then just take your scissors and cut the ends of this twine like so. Okay, very good. So here we have an arrow card with a fun fold that you can send to a friend that says you are wonderful. And this is the one that I did ahead of time. So I appreciate you stopping by for my Monday Make It, Send It video, and stop back next Monday for another YouTube video with some other fun card that I'll be sending to my friends. Thanks for stopping by.